Joining us tonight is RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel. Ronna, great to have you with us.
Great to be here.
So, a lot of good news out there, also some, I'm sure, perplexing news as well. But let's start with the good, and that is Republicans having the highest standing in public opinion in 7 years. Who saw that coming? Besides you, of course.
Well, I mean, let's look at the results. People's lives are better because of Republican leadership. They've seen Republicans come to Washington and fight for lower taxes, deregulation, energy independence, taking on ISIS, taking on North Korea. They have seen Republicans be bold in their leadership, and Democrats have resisted and obstructed, and they have done nothing to help the American people.
We have commented on this broadcast and that this is the lowest that we have ever seen either party go in dirty politics. I mean, this is low life, this is ignorant, this is vicious and venomous conduct on the part of the Dems. One of my favorite events of this day was to have Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader, call upon Senator McConnell, the Majority Leader, to apologize for politicizing the process. That is stunning on any level.
It has been shameful what the Democrats have done to Judge Kavanaugh. First, with his hearings, to have 202 arrests, these coordinated protests, to have 451 interruptions, and now to sit on this letter and put it in your back pocket and to politicize these allegations and use it as a weapon against his nomination process. The American people see through it. They're going to have these hearings. Judge Kavanaugh deserves the right to defend himself. But these allegations, if there's no evidence, if there's no corroboration, you cannot dismantle the lifetime of good work of someone like Judge Kavanaugh.
Well, that's precisely what the Democrats have done.
That's what they're trying to do.
And I think that the president is exactly right. Senator Chuck Grassley has just simply not been up to the job. He has permitted the Democrats to run all over him. And Judge Kavanaugh, which is the great shame. This instant reflex on the part of Republicans who are, in my opinion, rhino Republicans. They don't really stand for much in the way of conservatism. They don't stand for much as Republicans, and certainly not constitutional Republicans. If they permit this kind of conduct when they are the majority party, when they are in control of the Senate, the House, and they permit the Democrats to run at them in this ignorant fashion.
Well, Mitch McConnell said he's going to get an up or down vote. And I will tell you, talking to our base, Judge Kavanaugh needs to get a vote. Now they've scheduled the hearing for Friday, which I think is the right thing.
And by the way, I should, if I may interject, because I neglected to point out, the strongest speech I've heard from Senator McConnell in his lifetime.
He gave a great speech.
It was a great speech. It was heartfelt. It was passionate and to the point. And I do want to commend him for standing with the president, standing with Judge Kavanaugh. A remarkable speech.
And calling out this evil smear campaign against Judge Kavanaugh, and to say we are going to get an up or down vote. I have heard that across the country as I've been traveling. I've had calls inundating me. We want to make sure he gets a vote. This deserves to be seen through. We want to make sure our senators do that. And then to have this hearing now scheduled for Friday, and then not to cave to this FBI investigation that the Democrats are trying to use. We know they're trying to delay.
There's only one person who could cave, and that would be the President of the United States, because he is the only one with the power to order an investigation, and that investigation would be simply a background check. And one of the other analogs in history is obviously Justice Clarence Thomas. The FBI ultimately carried out an investigation of Anita Hill's claims and found nothing to corroborate.
And Kavanaugh's had 6 investigations. He's had 6. And ultimately, it's going to come down to these 2 individuals under oath. And let's not forget, the cornerstone of our legal system is the presumption of innocence. Yeah. That cannot be that cannot be thrown away. And Democrats are ready to throw that out the door. They don't want it anymore.
You forget Senator Ronna, who has the temerity to say to the American people, Judge Kavanaugh has no right of a presumption of innocence. I mean, this is the kind of ignorance that the Republican Party is contending against, and yet there's a discussion that the Republican Party will lose seats in the House, will lose seats in the Senate. This in the backdrop of unprecedented achievements by President Trump, what he has done for the economy, for markets, in foreign policy. The United States military is now being built up by this president. And by the way, if he had not been elected, none of this would be happening.
Oh, we'd be going down the road to lower wages again, less jobs coming back, low in GDP. I mean, we are on such a great track for our country, and the American people are smarter than the mainstream media and the Democrats give them credit for. They see through it.
What do you think of the president's remarks the day before the General Assembly, in which he said he stands for patriotism, not globalism, stood up and said America first, and you all better get used to it? I'm paraphrasing the latter part.
It was great. His speech was so great in front of the UN. And you know what? He said this many times. I expect you to stand up for your country, and I'm going to stand up for my country and the people in my country, and I'm going to look at deals and make sure they benefit Americans. That's what we want our president to do.
Absolutely. And I'll bet you any amount of money, well, as long as it's $5 to $10.
Okay.
But I will bet you that there are so many Americans who are just stunned to hear a president, for it to suddenly register that there's a president standing up for America, not apologizing for America, but extolling the virtues of the American way and backing up everything he says, everything he promises, with real action and real achievement.
Yeah, he doesn't blink. He knows that there's power through strength, and he's strengthening our military. He's being decisive. He has restored us as a global leader, and he has put America first. So
is that the reason that you've started to remove the rhinos program at the Republican National Committee? What are we going to do with these people in this party? This grand old party.
Well, right now I want every Republican elected. Okay, Lou, I mean, I know that you and I have differences on this, but I need these Republicans returned, especially in the Senate, because we have got to keep these majorities and everything's at stake. But they're going to start going out and campaigning and listening to their voters and see why they support this president. You feel it. You go to the rally. You know that there's a fervor there.
How do you figure out that this imbalance right now? So much exposure in the House. Some estimates are huge, as you well know, as to the number of seats that could be lost right now. But we're 42 days away from the election. Have you got the horsepower? Have you got the street smarts in the RNC and throughout the congressional committees, the senatorial committees, to actually drive to a win in November? For the country, because that means winning for the president and bringing home control of the House, control of the Senate.
So there's this narrative out there that they want everyone to be discouraged, every Republican to think it's lost, the House is lost. That is not true. The RNC's put the best ground game in place. We have 20,000 field organizers. We've raised over $250 million to turn out our vote.
Bare-knuckled?
It's going to be bare-knuckled.
Right.
It absolutely is. Everyone needs to feel the urgency. Everyone does. But our base, through this Kavanaugh ridiculousness that's been happening with the smear campaign against him, with what they're seeing.
If that doesn't excite voters,
it's energizing them. It is.
I mean, to look at this ignorance and to think that these lowlifes who would carry out that kind of strategy and those tactics would prevail on any level is abhorrent to everything this nation stands for.
Our base is energized. They have to be. We cannot take anything for granted. And every candidate, and I'm calling them right now, you better run like you're behind. You better make it local. You've got to talk to every voter about the accomplishments that are happening in Washington, and you have to talk about what's at stake.
And
if
you
Nancy
damn well
Pelosi,
better stand with President
you
Trump.
have to stand with the president, and Nancy Pelosi will raise your taxes, and she will destroy this comeback, and you got to get out there and work. And we're going to be right there beside you.
Ronna McDaniel doing a great job running the RNC and getting the Republican Party moving in the direction it should.